Shan Jinghua was moved to tears. Reaching out a trembling hand, he called, "Marshal brother! Wait, Marshal brother!" A reserved smile graced the face of the leading youth. 2 swords hung at his waist, one long, one short, and his sleeves billowed as if filled with a cool breeze. It was Wan Jianpeik's Wei Qingwei. When he saw Shan Jinghua rush out to greet him, he raised a hand to meet him, moved. "Ex-Marshal brother, what happened to you? How have you so completely transformed to reach such a state in the few days since we last met? You don't even look human." Shan Jinghua choked down a wave of hot tears, then awkwardly said, "That's probably because I'm not ex-Marshal brother." Sure, he had become a bit skinnier because he wasn't eating well, but what was with that, quote, "don't even look human" remark? Moreover, Shan Jinghua had been to Wan Jianpeik's sword trial terrace at least 3 times to polish swords for Wei Marshal brother and his buddies, and every time they'd wanted him to sweep their rooms while he was at it, and to make them food, and also feed their pangolins. How could they have already forgotten his face? "Can't you see I'm making a joke?" Wei Qingwei asked. "What? Is it not funny? Oh, right, Shan Marshal brother. Why are you all alone? Where are the others? Why did you delay your return? Did something happen?" Wei Marshal brother, you really need to work on your jokes. As for the others. This attack had been too sudden, and Shan Jinghua couldn't make up a seamless alibi on such short notice. So he just swayed a couple of times, his face deathly pale, then fell to the ground with a plop. As he looked like he couldn't hold up much longer, no one would be suspicious if he pretended to faint. While he was playing dead, he felt Wei Qingwei crouch down and poke his face a couple of times. The others said, "Marshal brother, he fainted. What should we do?" "What else can we do?" Wei Marshal brother asked, still poking. "Let's drag him back first and figure it out after." At Chongding Peak, rows and rows of dead bodies were arranged outside the main hall. Other than Shan Jinghua, every Anjing Peak outer disciple who had been sent to retrieve goods that day lay in repose, down to the last. Shan Jinghua knelt in front of the bodies, tears falling to the ground. There was no way around it. It was hard to get by in this cultivation world. Someone like him, with mediocre innate ability, really couldn't make it without well-developed tear glands. If he hadn't had those, he wouldn't be able to put on this act of, quote, "a sorrow so heartbroken it stilled the tongue," unquote, in front of the Peak Lords. After the Peak Lords finished questioning him, they went into the hall to discuss, the atmosphere serious and solemn. Shan Jinghua suddenly heard the tinkling of sword tassel pendants, and a youth wearing Qingjing Peak's uniform slowly approached him. This youth had snowy fair skin, slender brows and eyes, pale lips, and a somewhat harsh appearance. His black hair was neatly tied behind his head with a light green ribbon, and a sword was held in his arms. It was precisely that inauspicious star, that heartless goal, that certain eccentric fellow from Qingjing Peak, proud immortal demon Wei, scum villain par excellence of the next generation, Shen Qingqiu. Once Shen Qingqiu finished examining the bodies, he asked carelessly, "Did that demon ask you to bring back some message, or perhaps some object?" Shan Jinghua started, shocked that Shen Qingqiu had actually chosen to grace him with unsolicited words. "No?" Shen Qingqiu had a habit of raising his chin, so he was often looking down his nose at others. Every time they spoke, Shan Jinghua felt like Shen Qingqiu was sneering at him. Granted, the sneering didn't really matter. He was pretty used to it. "Then, that's strange," Shen Qingqiu said, his expression like a smile, yet not. All the others died. If you don't have some message to bring to us, why would you of all people be the only survivor? Shang Jinghua blinked his eyes, tears once again streaming down his face. That is... This time, Shen Qingqiu smiled for real. Shang, martial brother, exactly how did you escape unscathed to return to Changqiu Mountain? Shang Jinghua absolutely could not afford to give a careless response to this question. The Shen Qingqiu of this world functioned in accordance with his original settings. He wasn't like those low IQ paper-thin cannon fodder villains, and he was under no circumstances easy to deceive. If Shang Jinghua blew his cover and got reported, his clandestine second career would be over before it even begun. So he played dumb and laughed awkwardly for 30 seconds. Suddenly, the light bulb in his head lit up, and he instantly began to stammer. That is, it might be because... Because he hadn't for a second hesitated to kneel? Because he'd yelled, "My king," with volume and sincerity? Because he'd brazenly abandoned all dignity? Shen Qingqiu waited patiently and, for his trouble, received a fit of gut-wrenching cuffs from his target. Shang Jinghua coughed until tears poured from his eyes. Shen Qingqiu backed up a step, a shade of disgust on his face. "Everyone has a weakness. Just you see who I'll summon to deal with you," Shang Jinghua thought. Sure enough, after 5 seconds of this, Yue Qingyuan's voice came from behind him. "Qingqiu, martial brother. In the first place, the behavior of the demon race has no logic to speak of, and moreover, Shang martial brother only just managed to escape a terrible catastrophe. Even if there are questions to ask, why not wait until he recovers a bit?" "And here appears the god-tier summoned do-gooder and future sex leader Yue Qingyuan enters the battlefield." Shang Jinghua silently began to count. Shen Qingqiu raised his hand. Fine. Since you find my words so unpleasant to hear, I won't say any more of them. Yue martial brother, as you please." 1 hit? Our martial brother from Anding Peak descended the mountain to help handle affairs for Qingjing Peak. Why must martial brother be so reluctant to grant him even a bit of sympathy? Asked Yue Qingyuan. "Shang martial brother, why is your coughing growing worse? Do you need me to call Qiancao Peak's Mu martial brother to take a look at you?" 2 hits. Shang Jinghua shook his head at Yue Qingyuan, shedding tears of gratitude. He continued to count. Shen Qingqiu sneered. "The 12 peaks all oversee their own duties, and each has their own expertise. Anding Peak is supposed to do this sort of thing in the first place. Why must Yue martial brother speak like they've been wronged in some way? As if Anding Peak is the only one with things to do in Changqiu Mountain. Besides, don't tell me martial brother believes they really do work hard without complaint. You think they don't curse us out behind our backs every day?" 3 hits. Yue Qingyuan's expression was unerringly patient from beginning to end. He was just about to respond when Shen Qingqiu cut him off. "Stop. Thank you for your instruction, Yue martial brother. Qingqiu will continue to listen in the future. I'm going." 4 hits. Combo! Shang Jinghua knew in his bones that if these two struck up a conversation, they would inevitably part on bad terms by the 5th exchange. After Shen Qingqiu walked away carrying Xiuya's sword, Yue Qingyuan finally turned around. "Shang martial brother, you suffered a scare." No. Shang Jinghua said hurriedly. Compared to the exhaustion and exploitation he'd suffered these past few days, a little scare was nothing at all. But all things had a silver lining. After this incident, perhaps because the old Anding Peak Lord wanted to console Shang Jinghua or whatever, he was promoted to an official inner disciple. Shang Jinghua sang happily the whole way, returning to the large common dormitory to pack up his things before arriving at Anding Peak's highest level dormitory, the leisure house, to report for duty. That's right, you didn't read that wrong. On Anding Peak, the disciples who ran around here and there all their lives like exploited servant girls lived in a dormitory called the, quote, leisure house. Leisure my ass! Great Master Airplay shooting towards the sky swore he hadn't come up with this name with any satirical intent, but nowadays every time he saw those words, he was overcome by the incredible malice of this world. Shang Jinghua found his own small room. Exhausted in both body and soul, he persevered and laid out his bedding, then turned around to pour himself a cup of water. But as soon as he turned back, there was another person lying on his bed. In an utter cliché, the new teacup he had just received from the steward's office dropped from his hands right onto his foot. His leg softened, nearly sending him falling onto his rear. My king! Mo Beijing turned to face him. He was expressionless, but his voice was cold as ice. You'll follow me for the rest of your life, Shang Jinghua was going to cry in fear. Mo Beijing hadn't even followed him back here. He'd never thought. No, strictly speaking, it wasn't like he'd never thought about it. After all, Mo Beijing had a special ability, quote, mysterious phantom, come and go like a shadow, unquote. Shang Jinghua had thought it up in the first place so Mo Beijing could help Binge slaughter and pillage, and so he could move under the cover of darkness anywhere at any time. Shang Jinghua proceeded to babble non-stop. My king, allow me to explain. That day, as soon as I went outside, I just wanted to drink some congee and come back. But who could have known that fate was messing with me? I ran into a familiar marshal brother. I was afraid he'd ask too many questions and I let something slip, and that he'd take people to look for you, my king, and pick a fight with you, which wouldn't have been good. In addition, your injuries weren't causing you serious trouble anymore, so I thought it through from different angles and decided that for my mission I had to endure disgrace and follow them back here from where, if I saw an opportunity, I would... The hand Mo Beijing was using to prop up his temples seemed to have gotten tired, and he switched to the other. They told you to return, and you just followed them back. What else could I have done? Shang Jinghua asked, aggrieved. Refuse to submit on pain of death? Show my hand and fight? That wouldn't do. Aside from the fact that I can't defeat them, the important thing is that I still have to be an undercover agent for you, my king. So how could I ruin my reputation with Changqiu Mountain now? In the midst of this wildfire burst of enthusiasm, he struck while the iron was hot. A report for my king. I've already become an indisciple. Doesn't that demonstrate ample drive to succeed? Doesn't that show I have a lot of potential? Kissing up. He was kissing up as hard as he could. However, no matter how much it looked like he was kissing up on the surface, Great Master Airplay shooting towards the sky's inner heart was as placid as a spring day. He had always firmly believed, number 1, there's gold when a real man kneels. Yes, in that order. 2, a real man doesn't cry for no reason. But if he doesn't cry at times like this, then when will he? These 2 major life principles told him that in times of great need, kissing up a bit wasn't anything remarkable. If you thought about it another way, Mo Beijing was a character Shang Jinghua had created, and as the author, Mo Beijing was like his own son. For a father to concede a bit to his own son, to show a bit of love, that clearly couldn't be called anything strange. What was that saying, quote, children are the debts parents owe from their previous lives. Ping ping, bang bang. Shang Jinghua suffered another good beating and thereafter hugged his knees, crouching in his chair, where he adeptly fooled himself into taking this as a Pyrrhic victory. After stretching his muscles and joints, Mo Beijing lay back down on the bed, where he sprawled out and turned his back to Shan Qinghua. He spoke in a sleepy voice, neither loud nor soft. "We'll continue tomorrow." Shan Qinghua was struck silent. "Continue?" He had an urge to scream and shout, to call down the entirety of Changqiu Mountain to accompany him to his death. The reason an urge was because it could usually be checked, and because it shouldn't actually be carried out. But even removing his boots, Mo Beijing lay upon Shan Qinghua's brand new, not once slept on bed. Shan Qinghua's heart was as desolate as a winter wasteland. "My king, this is Changqiu Mountain." A highly lethal pillow flew over and struck Shan Qinghua, making him grimace in pain. Shan Qinghua picked up the pillow. He attempted tact. "My king, that is my bed." Mo Beijing stuck a finger and waved it at him. Cool and aloof, he said one word. "Mine." Understood. Because Shan Qinghua's whole person belonged to Mo Beijing, his things also belonged to Mo Beijing. Naturally, this included his bed. Did the reverse also stand? At this kind of time, that one saying applied, but with a twist. What's yours is mine. What's mine is also mine. Shan Qinghua rolled off the chair with a huff and silently went to pick up the broken pieces of teacup at his feet. He began to hum a little tune as he did. "You're on the bed and I'm on the ground. I get radish husks and you eat meat by the pound," while tidying his new room. At least a single pillow had been kindly bestowed upon him. Before, he hadn't even had that. Knowing how to be content with your situation and you'll always be happy. He cuddled his pillow. It was finally time to retire after a long day of service. 3 days later, Shan Qinghua was as hard-working as a happy little honeybee. Mo Beijing had slept in the leisure house for those 3 days, then disappeared without a word. Only with this had Shan Qinghua fully realized just how unscientifically god-tier the cheat he'd given Mo Beijing was. 3 days! In 3 days there had been no warning bell, no suspicion, no nothing. Not a single person had found out that a demon had strutted all the way up to live on Anding Peak and ordered about a future elite, quote, logistics disciple as his own beast of burden. Like a freed surf singing in joy, Shan Qinghua floated about at full energy for a while, right up until he received his next mission from the old Anding Peak Lord. Anding Peak's missions were invariably day-to-day miscellany, differing only in whether you battled through logistics or struggled on the front lines. But it was inevitably alarming to be in close proximity with dangerous organisms. For example, rushing in to deliver blood-replenishing talismans and pills to Baijian Peak when they were in the thick of battle with resentful spirits was a cruel and frightful type of mission, no matter how you looked at it. At least Mo Beijing was a capable protector. Shan Qinghua thought Mo Beijing had already tossed him to the back of his mind, but on several later occasions when he ended up in hot water, he would be fished up in passing by some strange creature that was clearly demonic in appearance, and he was thusly able to remain intact. Wow, this really counted as, quote, stick close to me and I'll protect you, unquote, didn't it? Shan Qinghua couldn't help but conclude that clinging to thighs and whatever was both quite useful and quite necessary. If it weren't, he never would have survived this far.